Hello and welcome to the Think Share. My name's Zach, here to bring to what I've been thinking about, sharing about, talking about, listening to, reading about that doesn't belong in math class. If you're new to the channel, I invite you to subscribe. Today with me, I have the Think Share. My name's Zach, here to bring to what I've been thinking about, sharing about, talking about, listening to, reading about. Today I have with me Ty Speaks. He's going to be sort of discussing this with me.
What's going on, guys? I'm Ty. I'm here to talk to you what I've been thinking about, sharing about. I always forget it.
But Ty, I put his for those that have never found him before and never seen him before. He's a person I think we've done like what 5, 6, 7, a couple live streams and a couple videos together. But
yeah, we've done a bunch. His
channel's in the description of this video. So what I'm really excited to share with you, and I don't know if you can tell from the thumbnail, but I have this right here. So it's on a tilt so that you can actually see it otherwise.
Most likely to succeed.
Yeah. So it's a book by Tony Wagner and Ted Dinter-Smith. And it's
an interesting name.
I think the key element of this title is preparing our kids for the innovation. So one of the things that a lot of administrations do is they will have their faculties all sort of read one book, or they'll have them do something so that they're all sort of on the same page. And
right.
Very excited as they've chosen this book for us to all read, because it's really speaking my language. I think one of the things I've discovered in the past couple of years is that I feel like the public school education thing is just not doing what we want it to. And I think I've found a lot of similar-minded people, and I think Ty's definitely one of them. And for them to introduce a book like this to us that has some what feels like direct, like clashing with like a lot of the practices that are really common in our school, it blows my mind a little bit. And I certainly hope the administration has read the book, because I don't know. I feel like it gives me permission to like do some things that are a little bit different, and I'm really hoping this sort of gives me permission to do some of those things. And one of the things I'm pretty passionate about is I think a lot more of our education should be project based, instead of sort of like I'm going to stand in front of you and teach you something, and you're going to learn it, and then you're going to understand it, and then you're going to get tested on it. And I think
more interactive.
So Ty, I want to start with this: is what's one of the things you saw? Now you also were in Massachusetts. What's one of the things that as you were growing up, you sort of had maybe some challenges, or like, why are we doing this? What were some of those moments that you had in high school?
It was mainly with math.
Oh,
so
let's go. Oh, are we?
Oh, hey. Hey, so for those of you that don't know, actually, I'm new to this guy too. So Karam just joined us. Am I saying that right?
You said it. You said it correct, man. How you doing, Zach? And how you doing, Ty?
What's up, Karam?
So the other day, Ty had me on his channel, and I was introduced to Karam, and Karam was on Ty's channel as well. They were talking about real estate, and Karam, now you're what, 20 years old, and you have your own sort of real estate business, would you say?
Yeah, something around those lines. So I'm 21 years old, and I've been doing real estate since the age of 18, because that's the only time you can legally get into contracts and so forth. So that's when I started real estate, and that's what I'm doing right now as my, you could say, job.
And I mean, now, did you go to college?
Correct. Yeah, I actually graduated 3 weeks ago, so I'm finally out of it.
Oh, nice. All right.
Hey, you graduated? I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Come on, Ty. I thought you're keeping up with my videos.
Oh, you made a graduation one?
I'm just trolling with you, bro. Yeah, I did make one though. I actually my biggest goal was to make sure when I did graduate, I made an entire video for that specific day. So I have that on my YouTube channel.
Oh,
which is, I think,
you're right.
Ago.
I did see a little bit of that. I got to go back and check the rest of it out. I know you're talking about.
You're right. It's that video.
So Karam, the question I had just asked Ty, and I'll have you answer it next, is sort of what are kind of the challenges, or what were those moments you had in high school where it was like, are we going to use this in real life? Or it's like, why are we doing this? Or like, this doesn't feel right. I'm asking you, what were some of those moments, or what were those reoccurring things?
The biggest moments that I would have when I was in high school was when I started to see the money I was making and it had nothing to do with school, was when I started to realize, what is school going to really help me with, right? I knew math was going to help me in certain aspects. I didn't really understand what memorizing definitions for science and history and those type of things. I didn't understand really what that's going to help me with. So I would always question that as I was going through the years. And in all honesty, I forced myself so much to stay in school. I almost dropped out 4 times from college. I just was going to stop. I saw myself making money in real estate. I saw everything moving good. So I said, I need to just stop school because it was holding me back a lot. Exams, assignments, group projects, all these things were holding me back, and I couldn't focus on my business per se, only towards my business. And that's a lot of the things that I went through as I was in college and even in high school. I kept asking myself, what is it going to help me with? And till today, you could say it helped me here and there, but I don't think that those years of being in school was such a big help that I couldn't have gotten elsewhere.
I don't think I've ever heard of anyone like forcing themselves to stay in and almost dropping out 4 times.
Yeah, I mean, what you have to understand, guys, is when you're 18, 19, 20 years old in college and you're making a lot of money, right, from real estate, and you're seeing potential investors wanting to invest in you and people saying, hey, I want you to come full time and do this with me. Hey, I want you to do this. And opportunities are opening left and right. You start to question, is school the right way to stay in it? Should I just stop school and should I go do that? The biggest reason why I didn't stop is because I already finished around a year and a half. And I said, Karam, you already got through all these years. Just push through, finish it. Because even if I did drop out, I would always have in my mind that I have to come back. So I said, just get it out the way.
I'm glad to hear that you pushed through to finish off and not have that that sort of what's the word, like the down payment of it all like wasted. Ty, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, yeah, I mean, pretty much what Karam said. Like, there was a ton of stuff in school where I was just really, really questioning, like, when am I ever going to use this in real life? And there were certain things, specifically with math, that I was like, when am I ever going to use this? But I understood that there were also other very valuable things that I was learning in terms of statistics, algebra, just basic math like that. So, I mean, I took the value out of that. And, a part of me was like, before I went to college, I had a lot of people telling me, oh, what are you going to do? Like, what are you going to study? Where are you going to go? And it was just like a ton of pressure from teachers, friends, family. And it was just like getting to the point where I didn't want to go. And I was like, you know what? Like, fuck it. I'm not even going to go to, excuse my language. Sorry about that. But I was like, I don't even want to go to school. You know what I mean? Like, I'm getting all this pressure about selecting this, selecting that, doing this and doing that. Like, what's the big hype about it? You know what I'm saying? Because in high school, there was a ton of random stuff that didn't apply to me whatsoever. Because my initial thought was, why aren't I learning something that I'm passionate about? You know what I mean? And there were opportunities to take advantage of, whereas you could take extra classes to learn about certain things. Like, I wanted to learn more about accounting, so I took an accounting class. But at the same time, the majority of your time spent in high school is you need to take classes that are required in order for you to graduate. So going into college, and I guess towards towards the end of my senior year, I started to understand that I can gain value from anyone and anything, no matter what it is. So my intention with going into college was that I can learn something new. I can learn a different perspective from anyone, no matter who it is. And I guess I took that misconception of I'm not going to learn anything here unless I, take the classes required. And I turned that into, I can try, if I put my focus towards it, I can try to learn anything from anyone, and no matter what it is, even if it's little or small. So, I mean, like, there are a bunch of things. It depends. Like, me and Karam were talking about this earlier on his channel, how it depends on the type of teacher you have. I'm pretty sure, Zach, for you anyways, that you find the most creative ways to involve your students and make sure that they're learning in a creative way, and what you're teaching them sticks with them. You know what I mean? Whereas there are other teachers and professors who are just doing the job just to get the job done. And then there are other professors who are actually passionate about what they're doing, wanting to teach these kids what they need to learn in order to apply it in actual real life. So, I mean, those are my views. And I think there are, depending on who you are as a person, like if you want to be a scientist, you want to be a lawyer, those teachings will apply to you. You want to go into the, the biology field, those teachings will apply to you. But if you're teaching me something that has nothing to do with what I'm interested in, then why am I learning that? Like, it's just delaying my time. And that's why a lot of people don't end up going to college, because they feel like it's wasting their time.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to point out, and I feel like you'd be disappointed in me, Ty, and I feel like sometimes I'm disappointed in myself, is one of the challenges I've had for the first year teaching geometry, because I know that so much of the, like, I'm sure, Karam, when you're thinking about like a new real estate project, I imagine you're doing a lot of the contracts for the, you bring in the general contractor and the floor guy and the person that puts in the carpet and person that's doing all the calculations and stuff. But you probably do a whole lot of geometry yourself. So
100%, you're right.
All the time, like, I know that there are opportunities to create geometry problems, and at the same time, I think there's a huge part of me that also knows, like, and there's easily a way to skip over all this. Like, I know I love doing math problems for the fun of it, just because I got really good at it in college with engineering. And so, like, I finally did a project with my honors geometry freshmen, and I had them, I think you guys will enjoy it. So actually, before I dive into this, Ty, I think you would be disappointed in me, because I feel like I haven't always been coming up with a great way to really engage my students. And I think part of that's been my first year in the subject and understanding how the textbook works and how the whole school environment works.
Yeah.
I have been afraid to make mistakes, and I've been afraid to really fail. And one of the most powerful things one of my mentors ever said to me, my friend, his name is Jake, is I was doing it was similar to a network marketing event, and he was going to come to speak, and he I had like 3 confirmed guests going into that morning, and then about an hour and a half before the event, I had to call him back and said, we're back down to 0 guests. And he said, dude, I'm coming either way. I give you complete permission to fail. And I don't know that there's ever been a more powerful like moment in me, like getting excited and going.
Yep.
An hour and a half, I think I knocked on every single door in my entire apartment complex, like 40 doors, talked to 10 people. 4 people said yes, and 2 showed up, and one of them actually became a customer. And
hey man, law of averages.
Yeah, it was that freedom to fail, and I feel like this first year I haven't had a freedom to fail, but I've found as I've come closer and closer to the end, I've been like considering, like, I feel like now that my evaluations and stuff are over, I have a little bit more freedom to fail. So I actually did try doing a project. Now, the question I'm going to be asking you guys next is, what are some things you could see that maybe your high school teachers could have implemented or your professors could have implemented that might have made the process better? So I want to share with you this project and idea. I hope you like it. I'd love to hear some feedback on it. So
before you go on though, I want to let you know that at least you're, you're calling yourself out for that, and at least you're aware of it. So that's the first step to anything, is being aware of what you think you're doing wrong or what you want to change. And that you just made the first step right here. You admitted to yourself, like, hey, I'm not doing what I had set up to do. I'm not giving myself enough room to fail. And now and now it's just, you got to take action on it.
Zach, do you think that you're not doing new things because like you were mentioning, you said you're scared to do it, right? Because You're not comfortable yet. It's the first year, if I'm not mistaken, you said. So do you feel like that's a big thing, is you're not as comfortable as you'd like to be? That's why you're not trying those new things?
Yeah, I think part of it's, I mean, I don't know if it's the community I'm in, but I feel like all teachers are a little bit on the edge their first year when they're, so this is my fourth year teaching, my third school. First year was in New Hampshire, was a smaller alternative school. Second year, middle school. And I had 2 years there, and this is the first year in this high school, which is, each of them have been very different demographics. But yeah, I think it's been a little fear of, misstepping, being a little too out of the box for the culture, and for it to be a culture shock, and like, whoa, we don't know what we think about this guy. We're not ready for him. So I think I've been a little afraid of that. I mean, I'm the only teacher with a YouTube channel. I think I might be the only teacher with a published book, or self-published book. I think I'm probably the only teacher. I'm one of 2 teachers that has a giant 5x3 gay pride flag in the room. I'm the only teacher that has a super, super colorful board in the back where people share what they're thankful for. So, I think I have some fairly out of the box ideas, and I'm always a little afraid how much a new a program that I come to can handle of me. But I think next year it'll look a little bit different. A little bit of what I'm looking for, I guess, credibility that I've lasted 1 year. People are accustomed to me. Like, another kind of different thing that I did with my students was I gave extra credits, which were goal setting. And it started out with, it was the Jim Rohn goal setting workshop originally, and then I kind of turned it into my own thing. But it starts with 5 things that you're proud of you did in the last 90 days. And then like 10 things that you would really like to have higher level performance in the next 90 days.
That's awesome.
What are those top 3 that you really, really care about? And then what are the 1 month targets for those? And then what are the full 90-day goals specifically catered to those 3 most important things? And then what are the 3 key habits that, if you were to change those habits, would impact those goals? So it just keeps going. And then it's talks about the fears that you might have around them. It talks about what are the things you're gonna have to say no to, who are some accountability buddies that you could have to make those happen. So it gets pretty in depth. And there have been some complaints where it's like, Watson, this is not math. Why are you trying to do this to us in math?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, were you making the goal setting around math, or were they just general goals to be set?
It was meant to be the whole student, their whole life. It didn't.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
In nature. And there was some pushback with, hey, this isn't math. And another issue that actually came up was, because it was extra credit and it was for points, they were saying hey, you've given this too many points. They might be taking some time to do it, but this is putting them ahead in their GPA than other students, and we can't have that. So I had to change the model, and I said, the extra credit is that you get to make corrections on your tests and quizzes, and you can earn half your points back. But to be able to do that, you have to do the goal setting first.
Hey, Zach.
Yeah.
I want to ask you 2 things. I want to throw a quick point at you. Number 1 is, as a student who was in high school and also college, I ask you to please experience, test, and be creative with those students. Because I remember myself being one of those students in 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, and I would always love that teacher to tell me, what do they think? What do I think about doing this? Or what do I think about this? Take the feedback of the students, and don't let it be that it's a school system they have to follow, but let them kind of guide the way into how you become creative. One thing was, I had one teacher I'll never forget. She was a beast at what she does because she was so creative. She was so fun, and she made us enjoy what we were doing. She would make board games as we're learning the English stuff. She would make things that allow us to enjoy, and she would not do it until she asked us, what do we think about it, right? When you get feedback from your students, Zach, you have to understand that these people are looking up to you. And you're one of those cool teachers that if I had in class, I would be like, man, I can't wait to see what he has to present. So you have to make sure that you allow these students to not only enjoy themselves, but also give their input towards how you teach your style. Does that make sense in what I'm trying to get across to you?
Yeah, I think one of the things I've been lacking a little bit is I haven't been giving them enough opportunities to really give me direct feedback. I am planning on doing a survey for them that they can give as hopefully as anonymous as they can, so they can be as truthful as they can.
Definitely. And the second point I wanted to get across to you was the first one was about the students. The second one was, I kind of forgot. I think it rolled off of my head. We'll get back to it once I think of it again. But the first one was allow them to give their input so you can be able to kind of work around it, because their input's going to help you a lot and make it a lot easier on you as well. Because you don't want to be stressing out on how to be creative when they can kind of help you out with that.
True.
I agree.
So now I want to tell you guys about the idea I had. So the last part of the geometry year, we talk about probability in area. So for example, if you have a square and it's inscribed with a circle, and you have those little kind of curved corners on the edges, say you were throwing a dart at that square, what's the probability that it would land in those 4 corners? So you're pretty much taking what's the percentage of that that the dart can land in. So
25%, am I right?
Not quite. It's
no, I was about to get some extra credit.
It's going to be the area. It's going to be the total area of the square minus the total area of the circle divided by the total area of the square.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's like the most relevant part of the geometry, because I think statistics and probability are a huge part of math that I think are way more useful than most of the other math that we end up doing. So what I said to them all is, what is a game that all of you are too young to play that requires both geometry and probability? And what would you guys say? Actually, I think you guys, actually, Ty, you might not be old enough. I know you're both old enough. You're both old enough.
You said what would be a game to play for a geometry class?
Well, no, like a legitimate, like real life game that technically involves probability and geometry.
A real life game that involves probability. So you're asking, have we played one? Is there one, or what exactly?
There is one that exists. You might not think of the geometric aspect of it, but there is a game that exists.
And you're asking us, what is that game?
Yeah, what is that game?
Is it something that we do on a daily basis?
Is it stocks?
He said, I hope not.
Is it stocks?
It's not stocks.
Is it saving money?
No, it has to do with money, though.
Counting money?
Is it drugs?
No, you would see it at a casino.
Oh, it would be the money machines, slot machines.
Not so much geometry in that one.
Oh, it's cards.
Not so much geometry in that one either.
Poker?
Okay, let me think.
I don't know. You already said that.
You'll figure it out.
Is it I don't even know what it's called. Yeah, that one. I forget what it's called.
It's not poker.
There's a Russian version of it.
I don't know the name, but I know what you're talking about.
It's called roulette.
Oh man.
So
I wouldn't have guessed that though. I wouldn't have been able to guess that.
So
okay.
As we all know, it's like there's black, red, and green, and it's a circle, and the ball spins around it, and there's numbers, and you're pretty much weighing the probability of what the payout is versus the probability that it lands. So what I'm trying to teach my students is, a sort of a side note is that I think it's alarming all the time how much I hear people say, well, if I don't have a retirement plan, I'll just count on winning the lottery. Like people literally think that's a thing.
I hate hearing that so much.
So what I wanted to show them was that there's a very real reason why the casino always wins and you will always lose. Because if you look at the payout, let's just say for the black and red spots. So there's, in a roulette table, there's numbers 00, single 0, and then 1 all the way through 36. So there's 38 spots. every time the ball goes, if you were to roll it, say 1,000 times, 16 of the 38, so the fraction 16 over 38, it's about 47.5% of the time it would land on black or red. The other, like 6%, it would land on the green single zero or double zero. And the payout is you multiply your money by 2. So if, say you put $10 on black and you win, you keep your money and then they give you 10 more. So you pretty much double it. So your multiplier, I guess you could say, is 2, but your percentage or your probability is 47.5%. So if you multiply the probability 47.5% times the payout 2, you get to about 95%. So if you come to the casino with $100, you put your money on black every single time, say $1 every time, for the foreseeable future, in the long term, you'll end up with $95. That's what it will even out to. So the reason that the casino is always going to win is because there is no thing you can put your money on that in the long term you could consistently put money down and it will pay greater than what you started with. So I'm having them create their own roulette boards using a bunch of the shapes that we've practiced making. So trapezoids, quadrilaterals, pentagons, and they have to use rulers. They have to use the compasses and draw the perfect circle. They have to use protractors to use the angles out of it. And they have to literally measure and draw all these different shapes and come up with their own roulette table where there's actually 2 winning colors. So in a real one, there's no winning colors, but they have to make the payouts. They have to make the probabilities for those so that there's 2 winning ones. And on Thursday, we're going to have a casino day where they're all going to come in with all their finished boards. And what's going to happen is they're going to sort of bet fake money on different numbers. And each of them is going to be kind of their own little mini casino. And they're going to be saying, well, you lost money there or you gain money there. So the goal of the board creator is to try to trick whoever's playing into betting money on a losing color.
Yeah. So you're basically giving them you're creating a real life game that a lot of people actually want to go play because they want to make money into school, into basically their classes. That's actually real nice. It's going to be exciting. I want to see the feedback that they give you.
Yeah, that's super creative.
I hope so. Yeah, I think it was actually when I came up with this idea just after I started listening to the author of the book start talking about like making things more relevant to real life. And it was like, I was on this like mental block for a while and I was just afraid to mess up. And I said to myself, you know what, if I get some parent complaints that teaching gambling in school, but then 5 students say to me, this was like the best part of geometry, then I'll take 5 positives over a parent complaint any day. So this has been sort of my first
positive complaint.
I figured this was probably the first sort of chance that I've really taken with this class. So I got to go grab my charger because my laptop's going to die. But here's the question I want to prompt you guys with. And Karam, I think you answered pretty well. What was a teacher that's really inspired you? So Ty, I want to ask you, what's a teacher that really inspired you to learn rather than like doing the old normal teacher thing? And what are 1 or 2 projects or assignments that you remember doing in either of your careers that are really memorable? I'll be back as you answer.
Okay. Wait, so should I answer right now?
Yeah, you can answer right now and basically give the audience what they want to hear.
All right. So I didn't really have any teachers I looked up to in high school. I'm really trying to think. It was all just.
You ever had like a coach in basketball that you looked up to?
Yeah. I wanna make it a teacher though, because I did have coaches. I did have.
I see. I got
you.
I
did have coaches I looked up to, but there was one teacher in high school. He was an AP literature teacher, and his name I forget his name, but he one thing that he did with when he was teaching us and having us read the literature of what was it, Shakespeare and all of that, he got us in a circle and he got us super interactive, and it was like a play. So I mean, from high school, that was something I really enjoyed, was the interactiveness with the lesson. But in college, there was this one professor I had my first year and my second year. For one semester, I had her for two different classes. One class was social problems, and the other class was cultural anthropology. And every time I had her class, this was like a 2-hour class, so you can only imagine how,
Yeah.
you know, how it was that. But every time I had her, I would, out of all the other classes I had out throughout the day, I was excited to go to her class because I knew that she was going to be engaged. She was going to show us. She was young. She was like mid-30s, late 30s. So she figured out, and of course she was an anthropologist, so she obviously knew how to relate with the younger crowd. And you know, her way of teaching was she shared her experiences. She's traveled all over the world. She's lived in Antarctica for like 14 years. And her first time teaching at the school was her first time living in Boston and living in Massachusetts. So something I came to understand with her was that not only was she teaching, but that was a study she was conducting. I'm not sure what kind of study, because you know how all the how all like the social things are going on in America right now with, you know, police brutality, racist acts, and, you know, and all that extra stuff. She not only was she here to teach, but she was here to she was conducting a study. And so something I really enjoyed from her was how she was also like, she did you know how like those people at the circus, they like suspend themselves in the air with
Yeah.
with the sheets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she did that as well.
So she
was
basically she inspired, motivated, created. She was being creative with you guys.
exactly. And a lot of people, there were people who didn't enjoy her class and didn't like her based off the fact that they were just being lazy. They weren't
Mm-hmm.
open-minded to the information she was giving us. And I mean, the thing that I liked with her the most was that she understood we were college students, and she understood that sometimes, you know, we don't want to be in class, especially a 2-hour class. So she would compromise with us, she would work with us, and she would put us in the position to succeed, no matter what it was, whether it was extra credit or getting some more one-on-one time in office hours, whatever it might be. She did her best to put us in the position to succeed. And there were a few studies we conducted around campus, like, oh, go outside and count how many times you see someone on their phone. And I never really thought about that. So I was like, all right, cool. So we went outside, and I was just sitting out there observing. And this was like after a class had just ended, so people were outside and walking, and I think I counted at least 40 people.
Wow.
This is when I stopped counting. This is when I stopped counting. I counted at least 40 people who, as soon as they walked out of the building, looked at their phone, or they were walking next to someone, took out their phone. And I was like, wow, this is really. And then, like, I think I counted at least 10 more people on my way back to the classroom. So that was an experiment she conducted with us. But out of all the professors I've had so far, I have to say that she was the best one, because she was very interactive with us. The assignments she gave us they weren't just papers to write. They had to get us involved. We had to get creative. So that was one teacher, one professor that I look up to, and she actually got me my first speaking engagement on campus. So she went out of her way to help me pursue something that I'm passionate about. Hold on. Sorry, I'm outside over here.
That's
But
crazy, Ty. That's crazy, man.
yeah,
You
she went out
remember
of.
all of it like it was yesterday.
Yeah, and I'm still in contact with her. She always tells me, like, oh, if you ever need anything, don't hesitate to shoot me an email. If you ever need connections for anything, don't hesitate to shoot me an email and reach out. And she was just extremely nice, and she went out of her way to put me in the best position possible so I could succeed. It was awesome.
Very nice, man. Very nice.
How about you? Karam, what's been one of the, I don't know if I missed it when I stepped up, but what are some of the like projects or papers or assignments that you really remember from throughout your schooling?
Projects and assignments. See, I can count them on my fingers, basically, the really good teachers that I had. And there was not anything particular, but it was the way that they addressed the things. Why I keep on mentioning to teachers is please ask your students what they think is good for them, what they enjoy to do, what they want to do, is because every single teacher who asked me that throughout my schooling was the best one that I enjoyed with, because every time we gave them feedback, they would apply it in their things. So project and assignments and so forth, there's nothing specific, but it's basically something that I actually like to do is what we did. That's why I remember those teachers, because they did something I like to do. So it's as simple as just asking the student, what do you like? What do you want to do? What do you enjoy doing? And making sure you incorporate that in math, for example, in history, in science. I'm not saying go crazy and make things nothing related to school. No, bring what they're saying, brainstorm it together and put it into that class that you're teaching, into that math. My one teacher, I didn't like this teacher at all because he would never let me eat in class. And for some reason, I always wanted to eat in class. So the whole class was good, but he made it such a horrible experience because he wouldn't allow me to eat in there. And all I was saying was, let me eat like a couple of almonds every now and then, but he wouldn't let me. And for some reason, I would always want to eat at that time of the day. It was 10 a.m. in the morning. And he was a cool teacher, but he didn't allow me to eat, so I didn't like him because of that. Sometimes you have to be lenient in the things that you do, right? As a teacher as well, you have to be lenient. You have to adjust. You have to transform yourself to the way people are. One advice I can give, we have a lot of people actually on this live stream right now. Please take this advice to heart. If you're blessed enough to go to school financially, with your family, with your own life, please make sure that you go to school. Me personally, absolutely, I did not stop. I did not drop out because I was blessed enough to go. People around the world are dying to come to where we are today to go to school, and you have it in front of you. Take full advantage of that. That's the only advice I'll give to people who are thinking of dropping out or who are thinking school is useless. Go absolutely to school if you're blessed to go to it.
I agree. I mean, I definitely agree with what you're saying. And you're right. There are people who are dying and begging to be in the positions that we're in. And if you do have the opportunity to go to school, go if you want to. You know, go for the right reasons. But remember that, you know, you have an opportunity that not many people have. So if you are going to go for the right reasons.
And you have to remember this time, sorry to cut you off, but people keep on saying, oh, I don't want to go to school. It's holding me back. It's not letting me do what I want to do. I always tell these people, if you have an opportunity right in front of you, and if you're taking action, and if that opportunity is something you can grow in, by all means, go to it. But if you're saying you don't want to go to school, you have nothing lined up, you have no vision to what you want at all, then why are you lying to yourself? Go do the schooling, because you're just going to waste time if you don't go. People act like it's a hurdle, but it's really not. If you have an opportunity, grab it. If you don't, then go to what's already in front of you.
Exactly.
People talk it, but they don't want to do it, right?
Absolutely. And in terms of like, if you have already established something for yourself, whereas you have a thriving business, you're making X amount of dollars a month, a week, whatever it might be, and you love what you're doing, try to find someone and put them in the position and give them the opportunity to be able to get a higher education and pursue a career that they're still looking for, or pursue a passion that they're still looking for. So if you already know what you want to do and school isn't for you, look for someone and put them in the position to succeed. If they don't know what they're doing, give them an option. Be like, hey, I got this opportunity for you. You can go to school here. I know someone here who could hook you up, get you some nice financial aid, whatever it might be, and help them discover what they're passionate about. Because I'm not saying that's the only place you can find and discover your passion, but it is a route. It is another place where
I can definitely tell you this. Yeah, I can tell you this, Ty, is that school, all these years I've been in school, I don't even know how long is it, 18 years of my life from pre-K all the way to college. I can definitely tell you that even though I don't think that it helped me so much, I think it helped me in such a minimal way, but that is such a big way. It's hard to explain, but that little amount that it helped me, that it opened my mind, that it allowed me to experience different things, that little amount is so big when you enter the real world. It's just crazy when you know you stood in school, you went to school, you finished with school, and it feels like it's a whole different ballpark once you get out of it. I'm not saying the ones who didn't go are not going to experience it. They're going to experience in a different way.
Right.
But when you go to school, it's a whole different experience.
Absolutely.
Zach, you're staying quiet. What's the thinking you got going?
Yeah, thanks, Share.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around what you just said about how it it has such a small impact, but at the same time, it has a really big impact. That I didn't quite wrap my head around that one.
In the sense, Zach, of like, there's so many courses I took that did not benefit me, in my opinion, towards what I'm doing in my life. But there's such a small amount of courses that I bumped into one real cool teacher or another real cool teacher, that those little impacts changed my life in such big ways. Very little, but such big changes, right? People say that in life, you fall across certain people who change your life in such big ways that you would never imagine. That's the same concept in school. I fell across a couple of teachers that to this day, Dr. Ewing, that's one of the teachers I came across in engineering school. Dr. Prater, that's another guy I found in supply chain management school. These two teachers, I mentioned them because they guided me in such ways that I wouldn't have been able to do myself. My mom or my dad couldn't. My brother or sister couldn't. Those two teachers could, though. And those are such little amounts of guidance, but it's such a big thing that helped me in my life. Does that kind of help you wrap it around?
Yeah, I know what you're saying now.
Those two teachers, man, I have written down that I want to repay them for what they did. It's crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love those guys.
How do you think you'll end up repaying them?
I want to repay them, and basically one of the teachers, Dr. Prater, he goes, you know, I teach my students on business and how to make money and so forth. And if one day they want to come and give me a yellow Ferrari, I'm not going to be mad. I do prefer red, but I'll still take the yellow. So I'm not even kidding. If I'm able financially to repay these guys in things they really want, whether it's cars or homes or something, and I'm financially able to, I would love to do that with no question, because they helped me in that big of a way. Remember, in a little way, but it happened to be so big as I progress in my life. And that's what it is, man. School helps you in certain aspects you really can't get outside of it. And the outside world helps you in ways school can't help you in either.
Yeah, I think one of the important concepts that was being talked about in that book, Most Likely to Succeed, is the idea of grit. And I actually haven't watched the TED Talk, but from what I understand, the TED Talk was pretty good, and there's a whole book on it. But grit is the whole idea. It's like, you know, grinding stuff out. Like, I feel like I'm slowly and continuously developing the ability of having grit, having that attribute. And
how would you, Zach, how would you explain grit? What's a way you could explain it? Because I've heard of it so many times. I've Googled it up and saw the definition, but I never really understood the true, like, how can I actually apply that word into my life, right? And I was wondering if you had a way to explain it.
I think the best way to probably explain it is the difference between someone that does and doesn't have grit. It's like the person that, so one of the things that I have tried doing, it was a student learning goal at the beginning of the year, was to create synthesizers. So one of the challenges a lot of math students have is they're given a lot of sort of individual simple questions. They learn how to do those. And then when that same question is thrown in a different context, they're like, whoa, we've never seen that. That's So synthesis is the idea of taking that knowledge when it's out of context and still using it accurately. So every day that I have my Algebra 2 class for lunch block, which it's like 100, it's a little over 100 minutes, I think, somewhere around there, is we pause halfway through, they all get up and add to the thank wall, and then we do a synthesizer. So I throw them this problem that I've cooked up in my head and tried to make pretty challenging. And they do their best to work all the way through it. And one of the really interesting things is because it's lunch block, we have last lunch, and they have a lot of them are just hungry and they want to give up. Is you start to acknowledge the people that do and don't have grit. Those that do have grit want to do it for their own self pride. I think. Like I really enjoy doing YouTube, and I want to build a YouTube channel out of my own self pride. Like it would be blasphemy if I were to actually buy subscribers. So grit is that appreciation of, you know, I'm sure you've heard of Gary Vaynerchuk, right?
Definitely, yeah.
I feel like he is a full embodiment of grit. Like when he talks about dirt and clouds, like the dirt that he talks about, that is grit in itself. It's like,
okay, I see what you're saying.
The ability to, I mean, grind, grit. That's sort of a similar term, I think. It's
the ability to have that strong hunger / desire in your body to do something big.
Yeah. And, you know, it might not even necessarily be something big, but something long-term that you won't see the results of immediately.
Okay, so it's not an instant gratification thing.
Right. Yeah. So I think grit, someone that has grit has worked past some of that instant gratification mentality that I think our society is slowly growing closer towards. When I read one of my favorite books of all time, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. He's the publisher of Success Magazine.
I've heard of it. I haven't read it. What do you think of it?
It's my top 2 or 3: Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Compound Effect,
wow,
The Power of Habit, and where's my other one?
Have you read the 48 Laws of Power?
I have not read that one. I've seen that one as well, though.
What you want to do, Zach, and even Ty, and everyone who's watching this, is the 48 Laws of Power. It's a pretty good, decent-sized book, but it tells you all the 48 laws before you even begin the book, which are probably 3 pages. Very short. It's point by point. Read those laws. You're going to be shocked on how much it opens your mind. If you don't want to read the whole book, just read those parts, and you're going to really appreciate reading that.
Okay. I'll definitely add that. I'll actually add that to my reading list. It's currently on
I actually have a PDF version, so I'll get that sent over to you.
Oh, nice. All right. So that'll be sweet.
Grit is being able to overcome adversity even when you have nothing left. Even when your body's telling you to stop, your mind is telling you to stop, the ability to, whatever is pushing you, whatever that outside factor is, or the inside factor that is pushing you, that's what grit is. That voice in the back of your head telling you to keep going. Grit is that voice that's battling against that other negative voice in your mind telling you to stop. Your grit is your hard work. Your grit is your patience. Your grit is your adversity, your sacrifice. Grit is a mixture of a bunch of things, and we can break it down to the dot. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, grit is being able to do something even when you don't want to do it, even when you feel like quitting.
Yeah, my favorite quote in here about grit is Darren Hardy did an interview with Lance Armstrong, and as much as it sucks that he cheated and did doping, like I still think he's a phenomenal person because I think he really showed grit despite what he did with his body. But a really wonderful, and like my favorite sort of quote to really pump myself up internally when I need to display grit is he was climbing on a bike, climbing a mountain back when he was not a champion yet, and he was against these world-class climbers, and he said to himself, and it was raining, it was a horrible weather, like it was just him and these other 2 guys way ahead of everybody, and it was just like him versus these 2. And he said to himself, I can suffer better than they can.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah.
And I remember I had to break that one out in my head. There's been a couple of students that have played basketball against or have raced against. And one of these guys I did a 300 against them. They beat me in the 100. They beat me in the 2. And I said, I think if we keep increasing the distance a little bit, I'll finally beat you. So we did the 300. I was totally out of gas after about the first 200. he even slipped over into my lane a little bit. I was just so upset. And I had like nothing left in the tank, like headache full blown, like nothing in my stomach. I felt like I was going to puke. I couldn't even feel my legs. Like it's one of those moments where your body's in motion and it's almost easier to not think and just let your body keep doing what it's doing, and you can't breathe. And I remember saying to myself, I can suffer better than he can, because I know that he's at the same spot.
Yes.
And,
see, those important lessons that you learn will come right at the moments when you need them.
Yeah. And
right at the moment.
I beat him like by like a hair, just a little bit, but
man, that's amazing.
That I think that was a well put version of it. Is grit is the power to overcome adversity when you got nothing left.
Right. Isn't it crazy how we have so much definition of grit from, like, all of us discuss grit, but in such different ways. It's always the different perspectives people have. When you collaborate it with one another, you can come out with such a amazing definition for one thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll give you another example. Today I was, go ahead.
I'm going to cut you off real quick because I want to wrap this up in a couple minutes. So this will be our closing story.
Okay. Today I was at the gym and I was working out with a friend, and, you know, for some reason my body, I think it was because, you know, usually I take the weekends off, but my body wanted to quit, and I was doing some higher intensity work today, and my body just wanted to quit. And I just like, I was actually like just talking to myself. I was like, you're stronger than this. You're stronger than this. Like, I just kept telling myself like to keep going. And then I was like, I was just like talking to myself. I was like, what's wrong with you? What are you doing? What are you doing? You're stronger. You're stronger. And I just kept repeating that to myself. I kept repeating it to myself. And my body was just moving, you know, like my mind was like, oh, you can't move anymore. But my words were moving my body forward. And I think, have you guys heard of the 60%, the 40% rule?
No.
I haven't. No.
The Navy SEALs use this rule called the 40% rule. And it's when you feel like your body can't go anymore, like how Zach, how you say you were running, like you couldn't feel your legs, you felt like throwing up.
Yeah.
When you feel like you can't go anymore, just know that you have 60% left to keep going. You've only used 40% of your actual strength, mentally and physically. Just know you've only used 40% and you have 60% left to go.
That's nice to know. That's a good reference.
Yeah. Yeah, I look forward to I look forward to the day when I tell you that I've finally used it, because I can see myself definitely using that in the near future.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Zach, how old are you, by the way? I never asked that.
How old do you think I am?
Maybe like 14. No, I'm just messing with you. You can easily sit in the range of 22. I mean, yeah, 22 to 26. That's your range. If you go less than that, it won't work. If you go higher than that, it won't work. So 20. You're what?
I'm 27, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Man, that's amazing. So I was pretty close, 22 to 26. That's good. Very nice, man. And you graduated from college, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I got a industrial engineering degree.
No way.
Mass Amherst back in 2012.
Wow. Can you believe I did industrial engineering for around, it was 2 semesters, so about roughly a year. Yeah. And it was too much analytical data and stuff like that. So I switched to supply chain, which is the business version of industrial engineering.
Yeah, I took a couple of supply chain classes, graduate classes while we're in our undergraduate. So I've definitely taken I love when they start doing a little bit of programming with us.
Oh, really?
Supply chain.
Very nice, man. That's so cool to know that you actually got that degree. That's dope.
So small world, huh? Supply chain degree?
I have a supply chain degree. Yeah, supply chain / operations is what they call it over here.
Yeah.
Dang, you guys should collab and make your own.
So what's crazy, Zach, is that every professor I had, every teacher was a PhD in industrial engineering, and all my classmates were literally masters studying supply chain, but their undergrad was in industrial engineering. So I was like, why did I even switch to this degree? I should have just stuck with IE and finished off with it.
Yeah.
But it was already too late. I had everything set up, so I just stuck with it.
Yeah, one of these days we maybe just you and me should talk about engineering and the different routes of that for some of the college age kids that are looking at their majors and stuff. I think
Definitely, man. My story in school was hectic. I went from engineering to medicine to business, and I can kind of talk more on that later on with you guys about that story.
sounds good. All right, well, hey, both of you guys, it's so dark in here. I don't even know if you guys can see me that well anymore, but thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you to all the viewers. I think there's 7 of us on. Thank you guys for staying with us. I'm going to sign off. One of the things I've promised my wife so that my YouTube time isn't cutting it with my time with her is pretty much every night I'm going to try to wrap her up around between 6 and 8:30 is going to be my new sort of usual YouTube time. So I look forward to doing more with you two.
Does the Karam know how to end the videos?
What's going on, Ty?
I don't know. I was asking Zach. Does he know how you? Do you know how Zach ends his videos?
No, I don't. So let's see how he ends them.
And you got it, Ty. Do it.
My name is Zach. I've been here. Just kidding.
I just wanted to say also real quick, Zach, I really appreciate you having me on the show, man. You have some amazing subscribers, amazing, engagement that they have asking these questions, and they're hungry to learn more. And I just pray that you keep pumping out content because that's exactly what these people want. Thank you once again, man, so much for having me on here. It was a great time with you and also Ty on this channel.
Yeah, we're right up around like 370 days in a row that I've made a video.
No way. Are you telling me daily?
Yeah, daily for just over a year.
You're kidding, Zach.
Nope. Hustle, man. Hustle.
Every single day you've uploaded.
Every single day. With the exception of 3 days, there were technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties. Are you sure you didn't space out those technical difficulties?
Well, I ended up doing 2 videos on each of the days that I did that. I actually have 404 videos on this channel.
Super nice, man. Keep it up, Zach. That's real admiring, man. That's motivating me to keep on pushing as well.
Awesome. Well, to all my viewers that can still see me in the darkness back here, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, give it a like. If you dislike this, give it a dislike.
No, hopefully they enjoyed it.
No, well, I figured if I don't get the option of disliking, they're more just unlikely to resent me for ever asking.
You guys make sure you give it a like and make sure you subscribe to Zach's channel. He's an amazing guy pumping on amazing content all for you guys. You all have a great one. And Zach and Ty will be in touch, all right?
Yes, sir. Thank you all. Stay weird.
Stay weird.
All right, there it is. Bye-bye.